All right. Hello, Facebook land. This is Dr. Joe. If you are joining us for our live Fearless Immunity class on viruses, we're so excited to have you with us. If you are joining us, please make a comment in the comment box so that we can say hello to you. So please say hello. We're going to give people another minute or so to log in. I started a few minutes late. Hi, Miss Joni. Great to have you. We're excited for this evening's talk with our wonderful special guest, Emily. And so should be joining us. Hi, Jeannie and Fred. So if you're just joining us, please say hello so we know that you're listening. At any time that we are going over any information, you have any questions, please feel free to ask a question in the chat, and we'll either answer them right there or we will do it at the end. I will let you know. All right, I see Eileen, I see Amber, I see Kelsey. Awesome. We're going to give it about another couple minutes, another 30 seconds or so, and then we'll get started because there's a lot of stuff to cover, and I want to be able to respect everybody's time. Hello, Tiffany. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. All right. Like I said, if you're just joining us, please go ahead and say hello. Oh, and Nicole too. Sorry, Amber. Tell your mom I'm sorry. I just saw your name, so Nicole as well. Awesome. Well, we're going to get started. And like I said, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask in the chat box. We are on our second workshop of our Fearless Immunity class. And this is going to be, in my opinion, one of our best classes that we're going to have out of the 6. I'm excited to have Emily share with you guys and with me things about viruses and our immunity and herd immunity and all these things that we're hearing right now with what's going on in this crazy world that we're living in. She's going to bring some light. But before going into that, we're just going to recap a little bit of what we talked about last. Oh, why isn't that showing up? Sorry, guys. Hold on one second here. Have the wrong thing up here real quick. I thought I was ready, but I guess I was not. I apologize. Let's try this. Here we go. All right. There we go. So just to recap here, for those who may be new and watching, my name is Dr. Joe Singh, and I practice at Meridian Health Center with my wife, Dr. Kristen. We've been in practice for now, it'll be 21 years in practice here. And we're just blessed to be able to teach and help everybody live life like we're designed to live. And we just have a blessed office. We have a great team that just loves and cares for people. And we're just, again, so blessed and excited to be a part of who we are and what we do. Again, our purpose is just to teach you guys the principles of health and healing, the standard of natural health care where everybody empowers to live to their fullest potential. And that's the goal, to live to their fullest potential. And we have to understand as individuals that we are designed to live that way. But it takes work. I mentioned last time that it doesn't matter it doesn't matter. You got to understand who takes care of your health is you're responsible for your health. Your doctor doesn't, I don't, your insurance doesn't. You are fully responsible for your health. So having knowledge is very, very important. And that's what a lot of this is knowledge. But most of all, what we have to do is take action to do what we can do to keep our bodies functioning properly, to living to its fullest potential. So that is our purpose of our office. And as a team, we want to have every patient to thrive to their fullest. So we talked about being fearless and understanding the truth in our last workshop of understanding how important that you are and how important your body is. And if we don't continue to take care of ourselves, then we're going to see the effects happen through us. Now, I get a lot of patients like say, oh, Dr. Joe, as we get old, we get these diseases. Yes, we do get diseases, but the majority of the diseases that we develop, from heart disease to diabetes, to cancer, to metabolic syndrome, to thyroid issues, are all because of things that we have done in our past that accumulate in our body and break down our body. I know that's a hard pill to swallow, but if each and every one of us took the opportunity and took the moment and said, I'm responsible for my health, so whatever happens to me is not anybody else's fault but my own, I can tell you we'll be a better place, because that what will happen is we will start to take the steps to move forward and to be better. And that is our goal, again, tonight, is to also share those things with you, how the 5 essentials that we teach in our office, that we have taught to you, and maybe we have to recap some of it for you guys. Some of you guys are new who are joining us. Never heard this, but it's a great opportunity for you guys to be a part of. So that's what we talked about last week. So we're going to really get into what we're going to be talking about this week, and it's viruses. And how it started off is understanding what the germ theory is. The germ theory started back in 1861, and it was found by Louis Pasteur, who said that microorganisms are the cause of disease, because prior to that, it was either what caused disease was your behavior, it was an odor, it was spiritual, it was a lot of things. And can some of those be an effect? Sure. But the germ theory came about when he started recognizing microbes, things that we cannot see, affecting people or interfering with people. So back in 1861, that started. And still today, we base our healthcare off the germ theory. You don't believe that? We're living in one right now. COVID-19, the germ theory, a virus, okay, that attacks the body, that we are in a world crisis. And all we're trying to do is try to find a cure for this. And if we just take care of our bodies, we're going to be better off. And we're going to teach you how to do that. So here's D.D. Palmer. D.D. Palmer was the founder of chiropractic. And he was around the same time during the germ theory. And he had this question. So when Pasteur was proposing these questions across the scientific field, he asked the question, and this is in his book: I desire to know why one person was ailing and his associates, eating at the same table, working at the same workbench, or at the same shop, and one would get sick and one would not. What was the difference? So he just asked a simple question, and that question created a fire to try to find that answer. Why would someone in his family, for an example, be sick and he wouldn't? And so D.D. Palmer was studying Eastern medicine. He was an anatomist, a scientist at the time, looking at why diseases, why people were dying. And during that time, this was in the early 1800s, and then in 1895, that's when chiropractic was developed, which was his son. But smallpox and typhus and yellow fever and all these other diseases was what was killing people, not heart disease, not cancer, not diabetes, but these quote unquote viruses and so forth. So as he continued to research, he had a son by the name of B.J. Palmer. And B.J. Palmer is the developer of chiropractic. He's the one that took chiropractic to its profession. And this was the battle between the arts of science, of where we're going to take healthcare, especially hopefully across the world, but definitely in the United States in the beginning. It was a battle between the medical side of things, looking at viruses, creating prescription medications or drugs, or looking at your body from within and what causes it. So BJ's famous quote was, if the germ theory disease were correct, then no one would be alive in it. And what he was saying with that was because they would say that these germs would interfere with your body, and when they interfered and entered, you were going to be dead or be sick or have some severe illness. So for many years, what was happening is B.J. Palmer and D.D. Palmer started developing and looking from within the body. And that's what developed into chiropractic. Chiropractic was never about back pain or neck pain. It was an alternative to what was happening in medicine or pharmacology at that time, where they're saying their healing comes from within you, not from an outside in, but from an inside out process. So the two professions kicked off, and now we have what we have today. And I just wanted to share with you this book here. This is called the Merck Manual, and this is Merck, the pharmaceutical company. It's a manual that I had gotten when I was in school, so it's the 16th edition. I'm sure there's a lot more editions than this one, but if you can kind of see it, it's Bible paper thin. And this book has every disease at this time, when this book was published, over 2,800 pages of information of how viruses, bacteria, fungus, protozoa, all those things affect the body and cause sickness and disease. Okay. And it tells us it's a good resource for doctors to go through and see how the etiology is and maybe what kind of medications might work. But I want to read something to you in the very beginning, which is in the introduction. And if you guys can kind of see that, this section right here, okay, this section here is the nature of infectious disease. And I want to read this to you. Microorganisms far outnumber humans. They are everywhere. They're in the soil, in fresh and seawater. They're in the air. Humans breathe, eat, drink, and live amongst microbes. From this perspective, the occurrence of one of these organisms invading, multiplying, and producing infectious disease in a human host, that's you and I, is a rare event. A rare event. Only relatively few bacteria, viruses, rickettsia, chlamydia, microplasms, fungus, or protozoa are capable of causing disease. Many of these organisms live on our skin, in our oral cavity, in our respiratory or GI tract, or even around our genitalia, where they constitute what they call normal flora. A lot of you have heard that. The complex, dynamic interaction that occurs between a human host and a pathogenic organism reflects microbial components as well as a non-specific and specific, meaning an immunological, which we're going to talk about here in a few minutes, host defense mechanism, so your immune system. Whether an organism remains apart from a human host, becomes part of the normal flora, or invades the host and causes disease depends on these interactions. Okay? So I want to understand that beginning paragraph in this introduction of this book says that it's a rare event that these will hurt your body, and it all depends on the host, you and I. How is your body? And so this is where it's very important that we stay together and we understand how to take care of ourselves. When we talk about being healthy, the first thing that we want to do is we want to eat well and exercise, which is a great thing. It's 2 out of the 5 essentials. And so that's one of the things we're going to do, and that's one of the things we're going to talk about. But we always have to try to strive to make sure that we're doing the best we can so that we can thrive and function in the environment that we live in. All right? So that's our goal, and that's our goal for the next 6 weeks, especially today. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring in our wonderful special guest, Miss Emily. Miss Emily, can you hear us?
I can
hear me, I should say. You can't hear anybody else. It'd be just me. And so everybody, this is Emily. I had the privilege to meet Emily. She is a patient in our office. She is a fairly new patient in our office, and she is a microbiologist. And I'm going to have her take the mic, and she's going to go over these slides about viruses and our immune system and our response to them, so you guys get a better understanding of how our body works and why it's important that we ask you to do the things that we're asking, because it ties in really well. So, Emily, the floor is yours.
Okay. Can you hear me okay? Okay. Okay. So my name's Emily. Like Dr. Joe said, I'm a microbiologist. My degree is in medical microbiology. I got that from the University of New Hampshire. Since then, I've pretty much just worked mostly in quality control. I've done some product testing and some R&D, but mostly quality control for different products. So what I'm going to talk about today specifically is the human immune response that our body goes through to virus infection. So you can go to the first slide. So this is a pretty rudimentary structure of a virus. What you're looking at here is a little squiggly line in the middle is the DNA or RNA. All viruses are either a DNA or RNA virus. That is the virus. So this is like the hard drive. It's all the information that a virus holds. The protein coat on the outside is a protective layer that helps the virus to conceal itself. It makes it strong and it protects that DNA. So then the envelope that's on the outside there, that is like a cloaking mechanism. So that's what we call a virulent factor, which I'm going to talk about that a little bit more later. All right, so you can go to the next slide. All right, so this shows it's a general diagram of the virus life cycle when it attaches to a host cell. So if you're looking at this, number 1 says attachment, and it shows that little blue structure there, which is the virus, and it's attaching to a protein that's on the outside of the cell. The little squiggly line in this one is red, so that's the DNA or the RNA that's inside of the virus. So once it attaches to the host cell, what you're going to see is the entry. So the host cell brings it in because it doesn't recognize that it's a foreign object. So it thinks it's something that it needs. So it pulls it into the cell. Once it's inside the cell, it comes apart, and then replication and gene expression is what happens after that. So you can see in the middle there, to the left is the little squiggly lines, which is the DNA. So that goes and gets copied in the nucleus. It basically hijacks the cell's own function to produce different things that it needs, and it tricks it into reproducing itself. So it also comes, if you look at the little blue proteins, it builds those as well, and then they come together in the assembly inside the cell. So the cell is basically reproducing tons and tons and tons of virus particles to be released. And then that's what you see happening in step 5 here, which is the release of hundreds, sometimes thousands of virus cells off to infect the next cells. So you can go to the next slide. Okay, so I'm going to talk about a couple different types of immunity. Quickly, mucosal immunity is like your mucous membranes in your eyes, in your mouth, in your nose, in your throat. That's our first line of defense against anything that comes in contact with our body that's a foreign object, particularly in this case, viruses. So that's all I'm really going to say about the mucosal immunity. What I'm really going to talk about today is going to be our immunoregulation, which is our own cells, white blood cells, as most people know them, and how they function and the different types of them. And then I'm going to talk a little bit about host genetics, but mostly about viral genetics and how that plays a big role in our long-term immunity as a group of people. All right, next slide. Okay, so here is the natural immune response. I like this graph. So the red dot is exposure. So that's the time that you come in contact with this virus. So it could be a small amount, it could be a large amount of virus particles, and that makes a difference in how soon you start feeling symptoms. So what we're going to see here is this yellow line, which is the viral load, goes up over time using the mechanism that I just showed you on the last slide, or 2 slides ago. But the innate immune response is the blue line that you see right here that goes up first. So that's an immediate response, and that includes some cells I'll show you on the next slide. And then later you're going to see this adaptive immune response that's what you keep for a really long time, sometimes years, sometimes a lifetime. So if you go to the next slide. All right, so here is our innate immune defense. So here's a couple of pictures just so you guys can have an idea of all the different types. There's a lot of types of defense mechanisms we have against viral infection that happen immediately. And the thing that I like about this slide especially is at the bottom you can see the time frame. This is within like 6 to 12 hours of coming in contact with that virus. So that innate defense is super charged, super important. So what you see here is these little black dots are the microbe or the virus that are getting through that epithelial barrier. And then all these other cells are immediately starting to function and starting to fight against this infection. So go to the next slide. Now this shows also the adaptive immunity, which is that long-term immunity that we talked about. So if you look at the bottom again, you can see this comes after days of being infected with a virus. Sometimes it's longer than 3 days, but this is what people can say, now you're immune to a virus because of these helper T cells, cytotoxic T cells, B lymphocytes. These are just different. They're stored mostly in your bone marrow. And as soon as you come in contact with a similar virus or the same virus, it automatically launches that. So you have like twice the immediate response, which there's a graph of that later. So, all right, next slide. Okay, so everyone's heard about this lately. Natural herd immunity is something I want to talk about. I feel like it's a very important topic right now. So if you look at the left side of this slide, you're going to see a community that has never seen this particular, whatever particular virus it is being infected with. So there's absolutely no herd immunity. So you're going to see a little red guy right in the middle. He's infected with this virus, and the little arrows show where he's infecting all these other people. So the blue guys are the susceptible, so they don't have built-up immunity to this virus. So after a period of time, naturally, a group of people gains what's called herd immunity, which you see over here on the right-hand side. So if you look over here, you see the same little red guy, and he's transferring his disease to another person, but then there's all these little green guys around who are immune, which means that they have natural herd immunity, which means they've been infected with this virus, and now they have their adaptive immune system working. So all these other people on the outside that are blue are never, ever going to even see that virus. So this is how viruses naturally die out throughout groups of people. All right, next slide. All right, so this is one of my favorite subjects, is viral attenuation. I think it needs to be talked about a lot more. Attenuation is the reduction of virulence, which I said earlier. And virulence is the severity of a disease. So you're going to see with viruses different virulence factors. So virulence factors could be things like the types of spikes that are on the outside of a virus. So it can infiltrate different types of cells in our body, not just one type, making it able to spread further. Or how long it lives on a surface could be a virulence factor. Different things like that. So attenuation, viral attenuation, is something that happens also naturally. This picture is meant for a lab. So if you look to the right, there's the pathogenic strain. So that's the red dot right there. And then it goes to the left. So what these are supposed to be representative of is petri dishes. So if you can imagine, each dot is a petri dish, and it has cells inside of it. And we're going to infect the cells with this highly virulent or pathogenic strain of a virus in the red Petri dish. And then once it's full of virus, we're going to pass that along to the next Petri dish and to the next Petri dish and to the next Petri dish until you have a strain that's attenuated. So meaning it's reduced its virulence over time. And the reason that viruses do this, there's several reasons. But the reason that viruses do this is if you have a highly virulent virus, it's not, well, let's say mortality rate. That's the best example. So if you have a virus with a high mortality rate, meaning people are dying from this virus, Ebola is a good example. So if Ebola's got, I think the lowest one is like 50% mortality rate, but some of strains of Ebola are like 90% mortality rate. What you see is this virus doesn't spread very far because it kills its host. So in biology, you see this with bacteria as well, where they want to survive and spread. So it's better to actually attenuate, and it has to do with host genetic interaction too, which is really complicated. But so I'm not going to go too deep into that. But so the less virulent the strain, the more it survives and can be passed along to a new host, and the whole cycle goes over again. So, so that's viral attenuation. So next slide. All right. So this slide looks kind of complicated, and it can be, but I really like this slide a lot because it shows what I just talked about happening in two different hosts or reservoirs. So if you look at this blue wave, that's what I want to focus on. So if you look all the way to the left where it is, we'll say it's a novel virus being introduced into this chicken host. And you see it coming up, meaning more and more are infected, dying, infected symptoms. And then what you see happening here on the right side of the bird is that wave starts to come down. So when that wave is coming down, what we're seeing is all the things that I just talked about happening. We're seeing innate immune response, adaptive immune response, viral attenuation. So these birds are now starting to live with this virus, and it's not harming them. And what happens is you see genetic, what says on here, drift, which is a term for change in genetics. So what happens is you see this dip in the middle here, and underneath there it shows where there's genetic change that's occurring, and now it's able to infect another host. So this is where the human sees it as a novel virus introduced into the human anatomy. So now we've got this new virus in the human, and it's the same process. And then you're going to see the wave go back down again on the right after that. So now it's not a novel virus anymore. It's something that we've lived with, that we do live with. And there's a lot of viruses that we do live with every year and all the time. Okay, next slide. All right, so a quick overview of what we talked about. So with a new virus, a novel virus, we're going to see our immune system, the mucosal is the first line of defense. The innate response is going to be the immediate response, which if you look at this graph, it shows the primary immune response is right there. So the first one says initial exposure, and then the primary immune response, and then the secondary exposure. So once you're exposed to this virus, again, after you've had the innate, adaptive, and viral attenuation occur, then this secondary immune response is huge because now you have the adaptive immunity as well. Also, once the virus is integrated into a group of people, you see that the virus becomes less virulent through natural attenuation. In the majority of cases, adaptive becomes part of the innate or immediate response of introduction. So that's pretty much it.
Awesome. All right. So, lot of science, a lot of stuff to. This is her world, so she's very intelligent in this, and so big picture of understanding this graph was huge because when we start looking at immunity, especially the mucosal immunity, some of you guys have walked in and said, "Hey, I have a sore throat, feeling a little achy." Well, that's the immune response that we're hitting. You're getting affected by that, and I want you guys to understand something is that it is okay to get sick. It is okay to get sick. It's what you want to do because what does that do? It builds your immune system. So I just wanted to say, hey, understand that when we are getting sick, we got to do things that are going to help our body fight this. Our immune system is our army. And if we destroy the army, I'm going to speak in fifth grade terms, if we destroy our army, then we don't give our body the chance to overcome, fight, or we're going to be sicker longer. And there's things that we do every day. We've been taught every day how to take care of these things. And sometimes it's taking an aspirin or Motrin to bring a fever down. A fever is very important when you have it because a fever, when your body temperature, your innate intelligence within your body knows, your innate immunity, your innate intelligence knows when you have a certain virus, it knows the level of what it's going to do to kill this bug off. Okay, so a certain virus, certain bacteria will have a certain lifeline at a certain temperature. Your body will drive it up 1 degree higher than that bug so that your body can kill it off and build immunity to it. And so it's just very important to understand these different types of immunity. We're not going to be quizzed. That's just for us to help you with that. But the big picture behind it all is to understand that your immune system is key to overall function and overall thriving. Okay. So thank you, Emily. If you guys have any questions about Emily, feel free to post them in the comments, and we're going to address them at the end so that we can go through the rest of the slides, and then we'll address all questions if you have it. So thank you so much. I'm just going to mute you. Okay. Do you have anything else to say, Emily, or are you good to go?
No, thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. All right. So as we continue to move forward, we got to understand we have to look at ourselves, and remember, you have to look at yourself in the mirror and understand why are we getting sick or why are we more prone to getting sick, and we have to look at ourselves. One of the biggest things we got to look at is your overall health itself. Are we overweight? Do we have heart conditions, diabetes? Do we have a weak immune system? Our health conditions play a big role in how we respond to these things. Now, let's take COVID, for example. We can see COVID. We can take the flu, for an example, where in the very beginning of the peak of people, unfortunately, not making it through the virus were what type of people? They were typically our elderly people. They had some kind of health condition. Most of them were elderly at the time. It does take a change, and now it starts to affect the younger. But most of them that are having some severe effects from these viruses have some form of other condition that affects them. Now, if we look at just these conditions that are on this slide alone, this is the majority of the population in America. These are lifestyle conditions. Back in the 1800s, they weren't dealing with obesity, heart condition, diabetes, high blood pressure. They were dealing with typhus, cholera, they were yellow fever, all these things. But now that we have sanitation and we're doing better on learning how to manage, we have created other diseases that make these viruses now come and attack our body and kill us. And these are these kinds of conditions. So like I was sharing with you, our immune system is our lifeline. We have to support it. And if we don't keep our immune system strong, then we're more prone to sickness and, of course, disease. And how do we do that? Well, you guys, when we start talking about the 5 essentials, the 5 essentials is just not a thing that we have in our office. These are the pillars. These are the essentials of how our body functions. And if we can master these, if we can continue to master these, then we're able to definitely have more of a propensity to overcome or not even get sick. One of the biggest things that I hear in my office when people are under consistent chiropractic care, they're maybe on a great nutrition plan, they're eating well, they're doing part of these, that they don't get sick as often. And when they do, it's only a couple days. It's not a week long. And so, again, when there is something wrong, you have to take responsibility. I can't stress that enough. Okay, so the 5 essentials, what we're going to be looking at. So first thing we got to understand is removing that interference. That interference comes through your nervous system. Your nervous system and your immune system are tightly wound together to stimulate. By getting your spine adjusted, you stimulate so many interleukin cells that are killer cells to help fight immune and cancer. We're going to talk about cancer next on our next talk, of how our immune system is very important for that and how adjustments help increase that, the science behind all that. So getting your spine adjusted has nothing to do with back pain. It has nothing to do with headaches. It has nothing to do with neck pain. It has to do with freeing up your nervous system so your body can communicate with itself. We talked about that a little bit more in depth in our last video. So your immune system is very, very tied to your nervous system. But what's the different types of chiropractic care? Well, the types of chiropractic care that you should be focusing in is on structural care, not symptom care. Because symptom care is no different than you taking an aspirin, no different than you maybe taking a supplement for a symptom. We want to be able to start addressing the structure, the foundation to our body, so that we can now build upon that. And structured care comes with what we do in our office. Majority of you guys go through a structural corrective plan. So are you keeping your adjustments? Are you doing your rehab? Most people are this, because I know I deal with your rehab exercises all the time. But those things, I just don't give them to you just to torture you. I give those for a main reason, and to establish curvature in your spine so that we are functioning. When we start focusing on symptom care, I'm only going to come in when my back hurts or when I have a headache. We're defeating the purpose. I'm just an expensive Band-Aid. We want to be able to, again, focus on the nerves that are those bones that are subluxated, putting pressure on the nerves, decreasing the body, and creating the sickness in the body. So structural care is primary. Of course, a lot of us know it is nutrition. And, if anybody knows more about it, nutrition is the biggest thing. We have to definitely feed our bodies. We definitely know as well that the nutrition that we get nowadays doesn't have a lot of nutrient value in it because of our soils. A lot of things out there, a lot of people know and have heard us talk about. But nutrition is key. We have to feed our army, our immune system, proper foods to feed it. And we got to remove foods that also feed viruses or bacteria. Okay? So nutrition is key. The one we have to eliminate, which you hear us talk about this all the time, this thing is deadly: sugar. We know it. Right now, starting in the month of October, we're getting ready to hit Halloween. I know a lot of you, including myself, have had a couple of candy bars, maybe more than we should, because we buy them for the kids, but we're actually snacking on them more. And you don't have to raise your hand and tell me that you are, but I know most of us are, because I'll admit that I do it too. But we have to understand that sugar decreases our immune system. It's a suppressant. And so when that happens, viruses and bacteria crave sugar. That's how they thrive. And it weakens our immunity. So that's why, have you ever been sick and all of a sudden you're like, oh, I just crave some orange juice? Well, the thought's good because, hey, there's some vitamin C. We're going to talk about vitamin C in a little bit. But orange juice is high in sugar. So someone drinking orange juice, for an example, is actually going to be sicker longer just because of the sugar content. So the number one thing that you want to do to help build your immune system is very simple, is just remove or eliminate as much sugar as possible. I was just saying right now, starting in October all the way through December, it's the holiday season. The average person gains between 5 to 10 pounds between now and January and will not lose it, and will then gain 10 more next year. That's pretty much what the studies show. And the main reason it starts with this holiday coming up is all the sweets are coming around. So the thing you want to definitely reduce is your sugar intake. Then we want to start looking at eating plans and starting to learn how to eat properly. This is not a calorie counting plan. This is not a elimination plan. This is a nutrient-filled plan. There are different types of diet plans or nutritional plans or eating plans out there. Everybody is not the same. I understand that. But some of the main core plans that we do in our office is this one of these plans here. It's called our core plan. Our core plan is where you're removing refined sugars, reducing the amount of carbohydrates or refined carbohydrates, and adding some good protein in, getting more green leafy vegetables in, eating some good fats such as raw nuts or salmon. Yes, you can have some grain on the core plan, but it's in moderation. but it's just trying to change your diet, try to change your eating habits to be more quote unquote clean, more nutrient packed than just eating a bunch of fillers or carbohydrates that will weaken your immune system. So on this core plan, you definitely want to be choosing things that are obviously more organic. Definitely want to consume a lot more of your vegetables, green leafy vegetables. You can juice them. There's a lot of things you can do here. And then when it comes to grains, selecting grains. Sprouted grains are going to be your best grains. So that is our core plan. And if someone is interested in wanting to know more about nutrition, you can just set an appointment with us. We'll be glad to have a consult with you. We'll be glad to test you, whatever we need to do to go. But the core plan is the basic. One of the core plans is what we also put our patients on after they have done either the advanced plan. This plan here used to be called our healing diet. They had to change the name to healing diet because there was some fight on, well, you can't prove that it heals. The point of what this was called the healing diet was because you're introducing a lot of fats into good fats into your diet to reduce inflammation. And so the advanced plan that we've been providing in our office for over 15 years started very similar to what we see as the paleo, if you will, a paleo diet, more good fats, moderate amount of meat, very low carbohydrates, just to start getting the good nutrient-packed nutrients in your body so that your body begins to heal. And so it's a healing diet. So what does this include in here? So definitely a moderate amount of good free-range meats, good fats, eliminating all sugar or things that turn into sugar. So this gets a little bit more in depth than the core plan, where we want to stop eating a lot of those carbohydrates or sugar so that we can reset our body. Now, this plan is designed to be short term, but it's also designed to be long term for certain people, and it works really well. And so the advanced plan is one of the plans that we recommend for most of our patients. You do go into a slight ketosis in this diet. This is not the keto diet. We do also a keto diet as well for those who really need some healing on the inside. But you will go into ketosis, and the reason for that is because you're burning fat and you're not burning sugar. And that's the key. We want to burn sugar. We don't want to be storing that. Again, because these foods still feed our immune system. They feed our body. And then you have the keto diet. To know the difference between the advanced plan and the keto diet, where it changes. Your fat content is between 60 to 70% more fats, 20% good healthy proteins, and then 5% carbs. And those carbs are typically coming from your vegetables. There's no grain whatsoever. This diet works well for people. This diet doesn't work well for people. So it's not for everybody. You can also throw a vegan diet in there as well. There are some people that do not handle meat or do not handle fats because of some genetic things that they have. And so there's not really a cookie cutter way to go. But when you start looking at healing properties, it's good to find out what works for you and what doesn't. And that's what we do in our office. We are able to check to see what would be the best thing. Are you sensitive to certain meats or fats? Are you sensitive to certain carbohydrates? And then it allows us to give you a proper diet to help or nutrition plan to help you establish that. But again, nutrition is key for feeding your body. It's feeding your immune system, which comes down to our gut. We don't realize outside of our nervous system, our gut is where a lot of our immune system is housed, and how it picks up information and lets our body know if there's bad or good bacteria or viruses in it. So having a healthy gut is key to having a healthy nervous system. So what does a healthy gut mean? Having great bowel movements, not having gas or not a lot of gas at all, or being constipated or looser stool. It's kind of a gross topic to talk about, but I mean, that's pretty much that. We want to make sure that our digestive tract is breaking down, absorbing, and utilizing the nutrition. At the same time, it helps with your immune response to tag pathogens and to trigger your immune system to help fight. And so a healthy gut is key. So if you're somebody who has a gut issue that is, maybe been struggling with candida or just irritable bowel, or maybe has diverticulitis or anything like that, give me a comment on below, and something that you want to talk about privately, we can definitely set you up and we can do some scans. My wife, Dr. Kristen, and Carrie do our scans in our office called bioscans, and we were able to get a little more specific to see what's going on, to see if we can help you instead of just, maybe throwing some probiotics in you or some digestive enzymes or whatever it may be. We may have to be doing some other things, but your gut is key. Understand, 7% of your immune system response is housed in your gut. The rest is in your nervous system. So if you can function on those two things, that is huge. The question that we get a lot is with supplementation. So what are supplementations? Well, before I start going over some of these, there's not one supplement that works better than the other. Again, just like the nutrition plan, there are supplements that work really well that you can take in general wellness or maintenance. I'm a fan of getting at least muscle tested. We muscle test people to see what nutrition works for them. We have other things than the stuff that I'm going over here, such as some of you guys have taken VV, Attack, Gold, Immuplex, Conjuplex. There's a lot of different immune building supplements that we recommend for people when they are sick, but the ones that I'm going to give you are more for prevention, not when you are sick. And vitamin D3 is one of those vitamins. Vitamin D3 is the most studied vitamin that we have that's going on right now. And a lot of people, especially in the United States, only 42% of the population is deficient in vitamin D. And a lot of people don't really know they're deficient in it because they never had their blood tested. So one thing that is very important is if you've never had your vitamin D levels tested, you should get them tested. Even if you're taking vitamin D, get them tested. One of the things that we recommend is we want your vitamin D levels to be at 65, between 65 and 80, because the research has shown when you're in that stage, you fight a lot of things, from cancers to immune response to gut health to hormones and everything. So vitamin D does a lot of stuff. I put a few things in here. It works with 1,000 different genes and serves as a substrate to hormones like testosterone, human growth hormone, and estrogen. So it helps balance out those for growth. It also moderates immune function, like we're talking about. Also puts calcium in the bones so that we can have nice, good bone formation. So everybody says, well, how much vitamin D3 should I take? Well, one of the things as a general maintenance, we recommend about 5,000 IUs, but there's been some newer studies that's come out because a lot of people are deficient, saying that for every 25 pounds that you weigh, you should be taking 1,000 IUs. So in general rule of thumb, if your vitamin D levels are at a level where they need to be, 5,000 IUs is a great measurement. Is a good just normal maintenance level. If you're really low, you can take up to 50,000 plus IUs a day. And if you work inside of a building, if you're hardly outside, you put a lot of sunscreen on, you don't get sun exposure, chances are your vitamin D levels are pretty low, and we need to definitely increase those. Vitamin D creates a lot of weakness in your immune system, and the lack of it also creates a lot of sickness within your body. So vitamin D is a very powerful vitamin. Vitamin C. This is a very just, again, a general vitamin. It's an antioxidant that helps build up your body. You want to build your body up with supplementation. So vitamin C may help reduce the duration of illness by 17%. That's where the whole orange juice thing came into play. Well, before they started adding tons of sugar into it, you get vitamin C elsewhere. And so vitamin C is used in a lot of things, just like vitamin D. But most of all, vitamin C helps just increase that immune system, protect the cells because it's an antioxidant. Now, there's a lot of studies out there that the type of vitamin C makes a difference. When we talk about ascorbic acid, which is in vitamin C, ascorbic acid is the antioxidant form of vitamin C. There are a bunch of supplements out there and supplement companies that just do like ascorbic acid, and there's some companies that actually give you more properties of what true vitamin C is, where there's things called J factor and P factor, which are good for the heart. But in general, what this vitamin C is ascorbic acid, which is the antioxidant part, which is very good for cells and stimulating the immune system. So vitamin C. How vitamin C? There's a tolerance for vitamin C, and that varies. You can take quite a bit. The only side effect that you get when you went over is you'll get loose stools. We use a lot of vitamin C when we're detoxing people, especially with silver amalgam fillings in their mouths, because it helps purge their gut. So you can take a high amount of vitamin C, especially when you're sick. You can take high amounts and not have a side effect of a looser stool. So vitamin C, very, very important for your immune system. Zinc. Everybody knows zinc. These are just common general things that what zinc is good for. Now, zinc is a mineral, and it's in the body, and it should be used very not in high dosages, but it does help people with sickness. Now, for some reason, I used to take zinc, and zinc never helped me for whatever reason. I would take it, and it never worked, but I'd take some other things, and it did. So, but in general, zinc is very good for those who may be lacking in it, and will just help with immune system. Zinc is also typically added with other types of supplements to get it absorbed, because you cannot just absorb zinc by itself. So it's either ionized, or it's also put in some other form. So zinc is a very good immune boosting element. And then you got your herbs. Now, let's just talk a little bit about the difference between an herb, a nutritional supplement, and a homeopathic, if you will. You see elderberry, echinacea, these are the herbs that help support your immune system. Herbs are like pharmaceutical drugs. If I was to kind of give an analogy, they're meant to be used short term at high dosages so they can jolt your immune system. Pretty good rationale behind it. Just you want to hit it hard, get your body functioning, and then get off of it, because they're very potent. Where nutritional supplements are made to help supplement something that you're not getting, hence why they're called nutritional supplements, and they're made to supplement for it. And those are more designed to be used long term. Where homeopathics will take certain viruses and they will dilute it in certain solution so that your body will have a natural immune system to it, and it will help build up for it. So that's kind of the difference in a nutshell of the difference between the two. So if you are somebody who takes a lot of herbs, be careful with that, because a lot of herbs will make you sicker. Too much of a good thing could be a bad thing. So kind of watch out for that. Do it in moderation, especially when you are sick. Herbs are better than just supplementation for general maintenance. Of course, we have a package of things that we have that if you're looking for some support, you can see we have vitamin D3 with probiotic, which is good for the gut, vitamin C, zinc plus, and then, of course, IM, which stands for immune support. These are on sale for this talk. You can log on to our website at meridiandocs.com, and at the top right-hand corner, there's a store button. Click on that. Click under all nutraceuticals and click bundles, and this bundle will be there, and you can get that directly to you. If you don't like to go online and order online, you can order through our office. We can give you 10% off. It'll be a pre-order form. Just let me know if that's of interest. We'll order it for you, or come on in and we'll get you going so that you can at least start keeping your immune system strong. You want to start doing that now. If you're not taking any kind of supplementation right now, go ahead and do it. We just got raised. Adams County just got raised to level 3. Denver County today just got raised to level 3. So we're going back to where we were pretty close in April, it looks like, because COVID is quote unquote spiking. And so the best thing to do is to keep your immune system strong. And so these are some things you can do. So definitely increase your nutrition for sure. Now, I'm feeling like a hypocrite right here, because what we have to do because of COVID, but minimizing toxins. And minimizing toxins is a big thing. We're going to have a class just on minimizing toxins coming up. But minimizing toxins is very, very important for your immune system. One of the things we got to be careful of is this. I know this challenges a lot of people, but antibacterial soap. Antibacterial soap is not good. Let's just put it that way. It's something where what we're doing is we're taking this antimicrobial chemical and putting it in our hands and taking away the good bacteria that is on our skin that helps us fight viruses and bacteria, our natural bacteria on our body. Same with, unfortunately, hand sanitizers and all these things. Our skin has a certain pH, and it has a certain amount of bacteria that live in this pH. And when we start to change that, now we change the host, us, we change the environment, us, and now what it does, it leaves us more prone to certain viruses and bacteria. So that doesn't mean stop washing your hands. Just quit buying antibacterial soap and just buy some regular soap, hopefully some healthier natural soap, because it does the same thing and it keeps the acidity of your hands better than this antibacterial soap. Would you nod your head on that, Emily, if you agree with that? Okay, good. Okay. And cleaners. Okay. And this is where when I say I kind of feel like a hypocrite because you walk into my office, I have a bunch of chemicals in my office. Yes, I do. And because I have to. And so do I approve of them? No, I'm the furthest one away from them. But again, because of what's going on and for me to stay open, we have to use these things. But as far as in your house and as much as you can, check your cleaners. Try to avoid as much of these chemical cleaners because, again, they're very toxic to our body. They weaken our immune system. They change the acidity level to our body. Do they wipe out viruses? Yes, but then what happens is they start to mutate, and we just create this sterile environment. And then what happens? Look at hospitals. Look how quote-unquote sterile hospitals are. And they use the strongest chemicals to keep their hospitals clean. And the research shows when you enter a hospital and you go in, the chances of you getting something coming out is 1 out of 2 people. Pretty huge, right? So what we're doing, what those chemicals are doing is what Emily was talking about, how this virus and these bacteria change. And when we start changing the environment, these viruses have to live. So they have to change with it as well. And that's why we get these super bugs and so forth to go to the extreme. So look at your cleaners. Let's just go more healthy. We do a lot of thieves, a lot of essential oils, doTERRA, Green Earth. There's a lot of earth-friendly, healthy cleaners out there that you can use. And feel free to ask us. We'll be glad to share a lot of those with you. Okay? So understanding cleaning materials. So in summary, there's a lot of stuff here, guys, and I just want to kind of just to summarize it so I can answer, hopefully we're able to answer some questions that we have here, is that the best defense is you, which is the host, okay? And if you can understand that, if you can own that, then it'll put the responsibility on you to take care of yourself and do the best thing that is right for you and your family, okay? And these 5 essentials are pillars. How is your spine? Have you had your spine checked? If not, write a message. Let's get your spine checked. We'll give you a discount. If you are you consistent on your adjustments? If you're on a maintenance level, are you consistent on your maintenance adjustments, and are you still continuing to do your rehab? Those are very, very important. So doing that. How about your nutrition? Let's talk about just eating habits. Where are your eating habits? Are they poor? Or they need a little work? Have you done it in the past and you've fallen off the wagon? I mean, we all do it. Trust us, so do I. And the thing is what is something that you can be consistent at? I can give you tons and tons of information, but if we don't act upon it, it means nothing. So where are you at nutritionally? Is that something that we need to look at? Leave me a message, text something here in the chat line, and we'll be able to set something up. Maybe it's supplementation. Go on the website and get some things to help prevent, or come to the office. We can muscle test you. If you're not feeling well, we can muscle test you. Chances are you probably don't have COVID, but we can still check you and see what's going on. Detoxing, we'll talk about that. Start off with the little things. What can you eliminate from your households and your daily living that you can eliminate, from detergents to dishwasher soap to your personal hygiene soap in your bathroom, those kinds of things. And of course, exercise. We talked about exercise. We'll go in more depth about that. Another one. Or is it all the above? If it's something that you're not mastering in any of these, start with A, start with B. And we'll start there and we'll work our way down. It's pretty simple. It's not rocket science. So that's what we want to definitely start doing with you and helping you out with. So if that is something you'd like, definitely leave a comment down on the bottom and we will address that there. So in 2 weeks, November 10th at 7 o'clock, again, here on Facebook and on our YouTube page, we're going to be doing a natural defense on cancer awareness. Now, it's kind of a month behind because October is Cancer Awareness Month, but we're going to be doing it in November. And this is not how you treat cancer. It's how we're going to get our bodies to try to prevent cancer as much as possible. And so make sure you join us on that. It'll be, again, 7 o'clock on the 10th live, and we'll be chatting about that and how our 5 essentials and the research will help us fight and be better human beings in fighting cancer. So with that being said, that has concludes our talk. I'm going to turn on Miss Emily's mic here. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to type in the box here. I had one here, Emily. Let me just scroll down and find it. So I'll see if I can show this up here. And he says, how do vaccines affect our natural immunity? Do you want me to do that, or do you want to start? Then I can do it too.
No. How about you start?
Okay. So vaccines. So this is a very sensitive topic. And are vaccines good? Are they bad? Should I get them? Should I not? Well, I'm a, if you will, I'm one of those anti-vaxxers. If you want to label me, I don't care. I think, unfortunately, what has happened with vaccines, it's gotten to the point where if you can look at the COVID situation currently, we will not be over this virus until there's a vaccine. You hear it politically, you hear it all over the news. I'm not in agreement from an outside-in perspective. I'm a person who has never been vaccinated. I am 47 years of age. I get sick. I have antibodies to a lot of things, and I just try to do what I can to keep myself well. Vaccines, unfortunately, how do they affect your natural immunity is the different responses. When you have this mucosal immunity, which comes to the innate, which is what Emily talked about, that's the best way of immunity that we can get because your body stimulates the right immune cells without going into the science of what types of cells, from your macrophages to your white blood cells and all these things. But that's how you develop your antibodies. When we start to inject and break the skin, which is the biggest protector of our body, we then have an anaphylactic immune response, a very heightened immune response. And when they inject you with whatever they're injecting you with, whatever you're getting the vaccine for, they typically have either a dead virus in it and a bunch of what they call adjuvants in it, which are toxic material. You hear from fetal tissue to mercury to formaldehyde to monkey kidneys. You don't believe those are all in it? All you got to do is go to the CDC, type in ingredients to vaccines, and there is a list, and it'll give you everything that's in every vaccine. And you'll be amazed at what's in those things. Well, they put those things in there because that's how they grow the virus. And it also stimulates your immune system to have a huge response, so you can have a huge immune response. And the idea, the goal behind that is to have a huge immune response so that you can have antibodies. I think the problem is when we look at the body, the people today, we are so toxic, we are so sick, and when we add more toxins within our body, we have more of a negative reaction. So do I feel that, or how do vaccines affect the natural immunity? They will help with natural immunity, but they'll do it in a different anaphylactic way compared to your nice immune response. That is also some reasons why you have to get boosters, because when you take one shot and your body doesn't respond, they got to keep boosting it up so that you can build enough of a response to develop antibodies for it as well. So hopefully that answered your question there. Emily, do you have anything on that?
Yeah, I wanted to add to, like as an example, with the influenza vaccine, every year they put multiple strains of different viruses and they're guessing. So it's either viruses that we've had in previous years and then ones that they've created in a lab that they have estimated to be what the next one's going to be like. So that seems a little
like you said, if you guys didn't know that, like for the flu vaccine or influenza, they guesstimate what that's going to mutate to become, and then they put it in the vaccine and give it to you. And then if it doesn't mutate that, then that's where you see the results of, the flu shot was only effective for a very small percentage, or wasn't effective at all because they're just guesstimating. I personally just educate people why I don't do it. They have to make the decisions. But why I don't do it is because of the other effects that are the other adjuvants that are in ingredients in it that are going to affect our body. And again, I'm in the mindset of natural immunity, of just being exposed and so forth. So any other questions? I don't think I saw any other questions. If you have any questions, feel free to post. We'll give it a couple more minutes. I know we are just a little over an hour. So any other questions for myself or for Emily? If you are interested in even wanting to get evaluated or a nutritional consult or anything like that, supplements, also post something here in the comments. Oh, good. Yep. She said, thank you. Awesome. Great. Well, thank you for listening. Any other questions? All right. Doesn't look like it. All right. So 2 weeks from today, November 10th, 7 o'clock, we'll be talking about cancer awareness. So please join us for that. If you'd be so kind, definitely post this on your Facebook page, like it for us, send it to somebody, get the information out. It'd be great. Thank you, guys. Emily, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate your time. It was an honor, and I'm sure we'll get questions. If you guys are consistent patients in our office, Emily is one too. You may see her, so you might be able to see her face to face, and don't bombard her. But you'll be able to ask her if you have any questions there too, if you don't want to do it here. So thank you again, Emily. Appreciate it. I'm glad you made it back from Nebraska through that crazy storm. I was glad you're able to jump on. I was hoping that we wouldn't miss it. So thank you so much. All right. Thank you, guys. God bless you guys, and we will chat